Before we begin, I wanted to thank Orange Juice the brand for sponsoring today's video. So I unexpectedly received my latest package from them in the mail after I had already finished filming everything. And usually this would be a problem, except I love Orange Juice the brand so much that I was already wearing their other clothing throughout the rest of this video. So that just goes to show how obsessed I am with this brand. And recently, they've also started renaming some of their clothes after their ambassadors, who are also known as Juice Babies. And these are everyday consumers with inspirational stories. So I think it's great that they're celebrating their customers, encouraging diversity, and overall just spreading a positive message. And of course, it doesn't hurt that their clothes are cute too. So I'm gonna leave a link to their website in the description down below. And don't forget to use code PLOOPY10 for 10% off. This is gonna be a long one. Hey guys, today I'm back with part 2 of my video about the insane history of Blackswan, also known as Rania or BP Rania. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, then you kind of need to watch that one before you watch this video, so I'm gonna put it in the icon thingy up here, and be sure to get caught up with that video first, and then you can join us here for part 2. Once again, huge thanks to the ex-members of Rania, Yina.
안녕하세요. 저는 라니아 원년 멤버로 활동을 했던 샘이고, 그리고 중국에서 이나로 활동을 했던 황샘이라고 합니다. 반갑습니다.
And Namphon for helping me out with this video.
Hi, my name is Namphon, or Cora, or Pony. You can call me anything. I'm a former member of Rania.
And I also wanted to emphasize that just like part 1, everything in this video is alleged. Please don't sue me. Alright, so where we left off, BP Rania had just released their latest comeback, Beep Beep Beep. This comeback was pretty disappointing to many fans due to the low-budget song and music video. Additionally, Alex was once again excluded from the choreography, and during the showcase, she was made to stand at the side of the stage, despite the fact that she had proven she could keep up with Rania's dances just fine during the Make Me Ah era, so there wasn't really an excuse this time. And then, as if all of this wasn't bad enough, on August 19th, just 2 days after the Beep 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 showcase, DR Music made the shocking announcement that Alex had left the group. In the announcement, they made Alex's departure seem pretty amicable, stating it was not due to rumors such as racism. However, Alex told a very different story when she tweeted,
"People think they can push you around, take advantage of you, manipulate you, violate you, and then throw you in the trash and walk. Dead wrong."
Turns out, not being in the choreography was just one out of the many problems that Alex faced. And as a black K-pop idol, racism did in fact play a huge part in her leaving the group. Firstly, Alex couldn't really speak Korean, but because DR Music was in such a hurry to debut her, they added her to the group without providing her with any Korean training or even a translator. And this was a huge problem for Alex because staff would give all of their instructions in Korean with no consideration for the fact that Alex couldn't understand the language.
얘네들이 얘기할 때 막 호응을 해줘야 돼. 그리고 카메라 쳐다보는 거 알지? 불 들어오는 카메라 봐야 되는 거.
And although Alex had attempted to learn some Korean, she was still far from being fluent, and so she often had to rely on the other members who would use things like translation apps to try and explain things to her. And so altogether, the language barrier just made it very difficult for Alex to communicate and connect with her group mates and staff, and that left her feeling very isolated throughout her time in the group.
I was really alone, like during the whole experience. It was like I wasn't really, like, I don't know, I wasn't like part of, I don't know.
Additionally, Rania's styling team was also very unprofessional when it came to dealing with Alex. According to Alex, all the members of the styling team would be reluctant to touch Alex's hair and makeup and try to push this responsibility onto each other so that hopefully they didn't have to deal with it.
But every day it was like I was the last to get worked on ever, and no one would, like, we would sit there and they would come and get each one of us, and no one would come get me.
They also didn't have the products that suited Alex's skin tone or hair texture, and the one time they tried to style Alex's hair, they allegedly ripped out a chunk of it.
They were like tearing the curl, like literally like ripped. I was like, whoa, okay, we cannot do that.
And when it came to clothing, the stylist would also claim that they did not have anything for Alex because she, quote, ate too much, despite the fact that she was a pretty normally sized woman.
They were like claiming that there weren't any bras my size in Korea.
And so what this meant was that Alex had to bring in her own outfits and do her own hair and makeup, which is the reason why she often had a completely different style from all of the other members. And I don't see this discussed often, but I wanted to add that this arrangement wasn't just unfair to Alex, it was also unfair to the rest of the group, because it made Alex stand out so much from her group members that all the focus and attention was pretty much only on Alex the entire time. And that must have made the other members feel neglected and forgotten, which could explain why Alex felt like the other members may have sometimes been jealous of her.
I didn't really consider the fact all the attention that was thrown all of a sudden to me. At that time, I didn't think of it like, hold on, they're seeing this. For all they know, I could just be like diva status, like, yeah, give me all the attention.
So they had a little bit of jealousy, I guess.
Maybe.
And as you can imagine, that would have led to Alex being even more isolated from the rest of the group. Worse yet, staff members would often gossip loudly about Alex in Korean right in front of her, under the assumption that she could not understand what they were saying.
There was a lot actually of like chitter chatter that I could understand in Korean of people saying mean things when I was in there, you know, about not wanting to like touch my anything, and that just made me feel bad every day.
All of this and more was starting to take a toll on Alex's mental health and was ultimately the reason why she left the group.
There was a point where everything had hit the fan in a big way. Like, things were so stressful. It became like, why am I sacrificing my own happiness just to prove that I could that I can handle it? So I just decided to walk away.
This was the last straw for most of Rania's fans. With such a disappointing comeback and the loss of their most famous member, most fans agreed that BP Rania should just disband so that the members could at least start over in new companies. But well, they didn't. And instead, just a month later, in September of 2017, Rania started promoting Breathe Heavy, a B-side track from the refreshed 7th album.
You make me breathe heavy. I get so lightheaded.
With a dwindling fan base and a low-budget music video, it was no surprise that this song once again did not perform well, receiving only 36,000 views. 2018 did not start off on a good note when in May, DR Music announced the departure of Yumin. Initially, fans thought that this was yet another routine lineup change, which I guess they had kind of gotten used to at this point. However, things took an unexpected turn when in July, just 2 months after leaving the group, Yumin married P-Gun, a former member of K-pop group Top Dog, and then she gave birth to a son in December that same year. And counting back the months, that means that Yumin was in fact 2 months pregnant by the time she left the group. Unfortunately, just 6 months after their wedding, Yumin revealed that her and P-Gun had actually separated. Turns out she had originally intended to keep news of her pregnancy and child private, but P-Gun had instead taken a photo with their son and posted it on the internet, which essentially exposed Yumin's entire pregnancy. Thankfully, Yumin seems to be doing pretty well as a single mother these days and regularly posts updates of her and her son on her Instagram. But back to Rania's timeline. So originally, the remaining 4 members were supposed to make a comeback in June, but it never happened. Instead, they were performing in Malaysia with yet another unannounced person. And well, this mysterious person turned out to be Thai member Namthon.
Actually, I was signing to be a trainee, not a member of BP Rania, you know. I didn't think that it will be end up I am a part of the Rania, and then after I joined, like a couple of weeks, Yumin only, she left the company, and then they need a replacement, so that's why I became part of BP Rania.
So you only trained for a few weeks and then a few weeks?
Yes.
Oh wow.
And then I fly to Malaysia for the promote.
Despite numerous unsuccessful attempts at debuting in America and Spain, DR Music hadn't yet given up on the idea of promoting the group overseas.
I was trying to like rebuild BP Rania at first to go to Brazil and Malaysia Yeah.
Oh, I see. However, their efforts in both countries were lackluster to say the least. I mean, they couldn't even be bothered to update the group poster to reflect the number of members on stage.
Do you think I'm dumb?
Needless to say, nothing much came of this venture. In September of 2018, BP Rania released Style new member music video, which featured the current lineup of BP Rania lip-syncing to Style, Rania's song from 2012. However, this current lineup didn't last for long because right after the release of the video, Tabo was noticeably absent from all of Rania's promotions. Initially, DR Music claimed that Tabo was just on vacation to China. However, on November the 7th, Tabo made a post on social media claiming that she was now an ex-celebrity. Naturally, this prompted speculations that she had left the group. And then towards the end of November, fans realized that Rania's official Instagram page had unfollowed certain members such as Soji and Namfon, but strangely, they were still following Tabo, despite the fact that most people had assumed she had already left the group. Furthermore, some members began deactivating their accounts, while others removed Rania from their profiles. All of this, combined with the lack of activities from Rania, led to rumors that Rania had disbanded and DR Music had gone bankrupt. While this was obviously sad news, many fans also felt like this was a good opportunity for the members to find better companies and get a much needed break. However, behind the scenes, it was a very different story. Despite the complete lack of activities, DR Music and the members of BP Rania were perhaps going through their most stressful time yet. Because remember Sasing C? Well, she was back. From spreading fake rumors to terrorizing the members, C seemed angrier than ever. And English-speaking members such as Namfon were her main targets.
It's one person. She keeps sending me a texting, like hurting my feelings. Just like, oh, give up. You not belong there. Something like that. And hack my Instagram, Gmail, hack everything I have. It's also became a bigger thing when she's starting to hack my friends' Instagram, hack my friends' email, and keep sending like, change password thing to everyone every 2 hours.
At this point, C had already been around and had been causing trouble for a couple of years, and so you would think that by now, DR Music would have come up with some measures to help protect the members from C, right? Or at the very least, they would have warned the members beforehand. But no, it wasn't until Namfon approached the CEO for help that he admitted that he himself was in fact also a victim of C.
He just tell us when I show him the message that she sent it to me. He just like, oh, fuck her. Just let her go. She's crazy. She also gave me a text to just like, let it go, let it go.
That's right, guys. Turns out the CEO, Mr. Yoon himself, had also been personally victimized by Sasing C and was receiving unwanted calls and text messages this entire time. Now, obviously, I feel bad for Mr. Yoon, but at the same time, he's a CEO. Isn't it ridiculous that a CEO is getting bullied by a Sasing fan? But yeah, it seemed like Mr. Yoon had either given up or was too scared to stand up for himself or his artist, and so C's reign of terror continued. And it is actually still going on today.
She's still shading on me this day on the K-pop page. Yeah, so when I did anything wrong or post Instagram that maybe can be misunderstanding, she will putting it into the article and then like spread it. The rumor.
If there's one thing you can get out of this video, it's that Rania may have experienced countless member changes, delayed comebacks, and other unexpected events. But if there's one thing that's consistent in Rania's timeline, it's Sasing C. But enough about Sasing C, let's get back to Rania. 2019 was pretty uneventful for the group. The only update to surface was that in March, Soji claimed that she had left the group. However, DR Music didn't issue any official statement, and Rania basically had no activities throughout most of the year. However, in mid-August, they unexpectedly released an announcement about an upcoming performance in Romania. This time, time in the video, there were yet another 3 unannounced new members. Furthermore, fans noted that not only was Soji and Tabo absent from the video, this time Ji-yoon was missing as well. In usual DR Music fashion, they waited over a week before announcing that these 3 members had indeed left the group, and the 3 new unannounced members were Sunghyun, Larissa, and Younghyun, who was an ex-member of Stellar. But by the time the Romania performance itself rolled around just 2 weeks later, yet another member change had occurred. This time, Namfon was noticeably absent. So where was she? According to DR Music, Namfon was experiencing, quote, visa issues. However, the only issue with the visa was that, well, it didn't exist. And no, I'm not talking about the visa to go to Romania. I'm talking about the visa that Namfon requires to even live and work as an idol in Korea in the first place. Okay, this part is pretty complicated, so I'm gonna try and explain it the best that I can, but just bear with me. So let's backtrack to 2018, before Namfon even debuted. If you recall, Namfon is actually a Thai person and would therefore require a visa to live and work in Korea. More specifically, for foreign workers such as Namfon, you would typically expect them to be on what's called a work visa, and this is usually supplied to them and paid for by the employer. However, in Namfon's case, DR Music allegedly never provided her with a visa throughout her entire career with Rania.
They don't want to make a visa for us foreigners because they have to pay a tax when we get the visa.
Since Namfon didn't have a visa, she was essentially in Korea as a tourist. Obviously, being a tourist comes with a lot of restrictions. For example, you're typically not allowed to engage in any paid work in the country. And now that I think about it, I don't even know if what DR Music was doing here was even legal. Furthermore, as a tourist, you can usually only stay in Korea for a maximum of 90 days at a time. And if you want to stay longer than that, you either have to get a visa, or you can fly out of Korea and then come back in again as a tourist and stay for another 90 days before flying out again and basically repeating that cycle over and over. And essentially, that's what Namfon had to do throughout her entire career with Rania.
As a Thai people, I got 90 days
Right.
to be in South Korea, and I
Right.
have to come back again and rest for like five days and then go back to South Korea. And from the beginning until the end, I do that all the time by my own money.
That's right, guys. DR Music apparently didn't even pay for Namfon's flight tickets. Did you ever talk to the company about this? Like, ask them to sponsor your flight tickets?
Yes, I have asked like couple of times, like why don't you like sponsor me a little bit about my ticket to fly back to my hometown? They say, oh, it's Thailand, it takes like 5 hours, it's cheap, you know, you don't need our help, something like that. But actually the currency of Korean and Thailand, you know, is very different, and it's kind of expensive for me too, because I have to rely on my parents' money at that time.
And if this wasn't bad enough, DR Music didn't even help Namfon keep track of her visa trips.
Actually, the company should be the person who planned the schedule for us. But in this company, I have to be the one who counting my visa, that when I have to buy a ticket and when I have to come back. And it's been like this for almost 2 years. I was sick and tired of it.
While this lack of scheduling was no doubt inconvenient for Namfon, it actually wasn't beneficial for DR Music either, because it meant that DR Music had absolutely no idea when Namfon had to make her visa trips, and as a result, they would often end up scheduling important events that would take place when Namfon happened to be on one of her trips back to Thailand. So to bring this all back to the Romanian performance, that was exactly what happened. Namfon had already planned and paid for her trip back to Thailand when the Romanian performance took place, and therefore she was unable to go to Romania. But of course, missing events such as the Romanian performance was just one out of the many ways in which this so-called visa issue affected Namfon. As you can imagine, throughout the span of the 2 years that Namfon was in the group, she had racked up significant expenses from all the flight tickets, which actually sent her parents into debt. Furthermore, the stress of just having to constantly keep track of her visa schedule was really starting to take a toll on her mental health. And so in January of 2020, Namfon finally called it quits. And the way that she left the group has to be one of the craziest stories I've ever heard.
So how did you leave?
I honestly just leave. Yeah, I didn't told the company.
Oh, what?
Actually, I have a schedule that I have to fly back to Thailand for my visa, right? And then I have a very bad mental statement at that time, so I went through go to the therapist with the doctor.
Right.
Yeah, and she say, "Oh, you need to take a break." And then I decided, okay, I'm not gonna come back. So I just packed some of my stuff and just stay here and join the university.
Right, it was easy for you as well because you were overseas already. So and then they're not even paying for your ticket back. So
yeah, because I pay
you.
myself back and go anyway. So I can cancel my ticket.
Yeah, they can't even force you to pay.
So at this point, you're probably wondering how DR Music responded to Namfon's disappearance. I mean, surely they must have been freaking out when they realized she went missing, right?
And then what? Did they even try to contact you? Like they they just accepted that you just left.
Yeah.
But I guess DR Music had other members to worry about, because shortly after Namfon's departure, Sunghyun also left the group, which meant that between the months of August 2019 and January 2020, 5 members had left and 3 new members had joined, resulting in a grand total of 8 member changes in just 5 months. In June, it was announced that BP Rania would be rebranding as Blackswan. As expected, there was yet another lineup change with the addition of new members Fatu and Judy. Originally, Blackswan was supposed to debut at the start of 2020. However, due to the disease I cannot mention, plans had to be pushed back.
1년 6개월을 계속 연습을 해왔는데 코로나 사건이 터지고 저희 데뷔도 밀리고 그냥 맥없이 연습만 하고 있는 상황인데.
But months later, there was finally some good news with this group, because on the 16th of October, Blackswan made their debut with the song Tonight. Unlike previous releases such as Breathe Heavy and Beep Beep Beep, DR Music actually invested in a good song and music video this time. Additionally, unlike Alex, Fatu, the second black K-pop idol, was treated like an actual member of the group, participating in the choreography just like the other members.
Oh my god! Wow!
And indeed, the debut was well received. The song attracted many new international fans, and the few remaining fans from Rania or BP Rania were glad to see that the group was finally going on the right track. However, Blackswan's good fortune didn't last long. After all, this is the unluckiest group in K-pop history. In November of 2020, just 1 month after debut, Hyunmi was accused by a man, who we will be referring to as Mr. A, of scamming over 50 million won, which would be equivalent to about 45,000 USD. So this Mr. A was actually a frequent viewer of Hyunmi's Africa TV live streams, and he claimed that Hyunmi borrowed money from him to cover her living expenses and then suddenly changed her phone number and cut all communication. However, Hyunmi and DR Music refuted Mr. A's claims, saying that Mr. A was the one who voluntarily paid for Hyunmi's expenses and that many of the claims were completely exaggerated. They also said that they'll be filing a lawsuit against Mr. A. Not much information has surfaced since then, with both Mr. A and Hyunmi standing by their claims. However, Hyunmi has since withdrawn from Blackswan. Many obviously speculate that she left the group due to the scandal, but DR Music denied this, saying that there were plans for Hyunmi to leave the group all along due to her contract expiring. Which, if that is the case, then I'm kind of speechless, because DR Music has had a decade to figure out that member changes do not work. So why the heck would they still debut a group if they know that some members are already planning to leave? This is basically Rania repeating itself all over again. Oh, honestly guys, it's so frustrating. Anyways, after the scandal, the remaining 4 members of Blackswan abruptly stopped promotions for their debut track Tonight. On December 9th, Fatu mentioned that Blackswan was currently preparing for a comeback, and Yonghyun also said that there would be more updates regarding the comeback in spring. And that brings us to present day, whereby pretty much nothing has changed. The members are still active on Instagram, Sasing Si is still going on her rampage, and believe it or not, there have been no member changes since. Fingers crossed. Oh, so that was a mess, am I right? But although I've covered all of the important events in Rania's timeline, there's actually another bit of interesting information that didn't really fit anywhere else in this video, so I'm just gonna put it here. And it's about the member changes. Throughout Rania's entire history, there have been a total of 29 member changes, with members staying in the group for an average of around 2 to 3 years. However, we know that K-pop contracts typically last for either 5 or 7 years, so how was it possible that so many members managed to leave so early?
회사에서 멤버를 너 나가 한다기보다는 멤버들이 일단 원해서 나가는 경우가 많았던 것 같아요.
Usually companies would make their idols sign contracts to prevent them from leaving like this. But then with Rania, so many members just decided to leave before their contracts ended, presumably.
Yes.
So how did the company allow that?
계약서는 다 쓴 걸로 알고 있고요. 근데 그런 문제들이 제대로 확실하게 해결하지 않고 그냥 지나간 것 같아요. 그러니까 본인의 의사와 회사의 동의가 어렵게 이게 맞춰지면 그때는 이제 멤버가 교체되거나 또 뭐 어떤 경우는 그냥 무단으로 나가버리거나 하는 경우도 있었고 되게 여러 가지 케이스가 있었던 것 같아요.
That's right, guys. It turns out Namfon wasn't the only member to leave without telling her company, and it was apparently pretty common for members to just disappear. When you have member changes, were you guys told in advance, or did you just turn up in the studio and then like literally that person just didn't come, and then you guys were like, oh, where is she?
It was like that.
Oh my god, really?
It was like one day we woke up in the studio and then one person missing, and I was like, where is she? Where's her? And one member, like we used to live together in the dome, right? When we came back, and we just found out that she already packed her thing and gone forever.
I mean, can you imagine the chaos and instability? But also, this totally explains why throughout Rania's history, DR Music doesn't even seem to know who's actually in their own group. To DR Music, Joy was still very much a part of Rania and would be returning soon. However, Joy herself said in a tweet that she had in fact left the entertainment industry, that she had left the group. However, DR Music didn't issue any claim that Tabo was just on vacation to China. However, on November the 7th, Tabo made a post on social media claiming that she was now an ex-celebrity. So yeah, that's pretty much all the information that I found regarding Blackswan, aka Rania or BP Rania. And I think that all of this information points to the obvious, which is that DR Music as a company sucks. And why they suck is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I don't want to spend time beating a dead horse, and I'm getting tired talking about all of this, honestly. But if there's one silver lining, I guess at least Blackswan is still around. They've had a good start so far, and DR Music seems to be putting in a bit more effort into this group, so hopefully they can continue on the right track so that Blackswan can be successful. So my voice is dying, but luckily we're at the end of this video. So huge thanks once again to Yina and Namfon for helping me out. Yina is actually now a mother, while Namfon is a uni student, and she recently started her own YouTube channel.
If you wanna go follow me, please follow me on Instagram, Kontitban. And then I also have YouTube channel called Korakora's channel. So please go and subscribe to my channel too.
So be sure to check out her social media, and if you'd like to find out even more about Rania or Blackswan, then you can check out my Patreon. I've already uploaded all 4 bonus videos, and I've also uploaded my full script and research document. So after looking at all of that, I think you could pretty much write a thesis on Rania. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!